Ha-Seong Kim has officially declined his player option for 2026. Where do the Braves go from here? It might be the trade market. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Tuesday, November 4th. Your source for news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, BravesToday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. We're probably part of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. Between the NFL, NCAA football, NBA, NHL, there's tons of offers available on FanDuel right now. So go to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today to get started. I want to talk about Atlanta's offseason, right? We are officially in the offseason now. We talked about that yesterday. A bunch of decisions were coming out on Monday. A lot of player opt-outs. I want to talk about adding to the rotation. We discussed one of AA's stated needs, front burner need, is a starter. Let me tell you why Michael King might be a good fit. And then I want to talk a little bit about the bullpen, because I think Atlanta needs to strike right now while they have the opportunity before prices get nuts. And I'll explain what I mean in just a second. But let's start off with the Ha-Seong Kim thing, because the list so far that we have seen of players opting out of their deals, right? Cody Bellinger is opting out and is leaving the Yankees. Big bat, can play first base, can play corner outfield, can cover center field in a pinch, good defender, doesn't strike out a ton. Makes a lot of sense for what Atlanta wants to do. I just kind of don't think they're going to go for that kind of length of contract and that size of a contract. Alex Bregman of the Boston Red Sox at third base, he's opted out. Edwin Diaz of the Mets, their closer. Robert Suarez of the Padres, their closer. They've both opted out as well, and we're getting to that in the third segment. We have a decision on Ha-Seong Kim. We did this show last week. I talked about reasons he would pick up the $16 million option, reasons he wouldn't, and if he made it to free agency, reasons why he could or could not end up in Atlanta. But here's the thing. If Ha-Seong Kim goes anywhere else, it is incredibly difficult to find a starting shortstop for Atlanta. And free agency is really not going to be the route to do that. Okay? Bo Bichette is available in free agency. And there's a pros and cons list of going out and getting Bo Bichette. Because when you look at where he's been successful, Bo Bichette is one of the better hitters on the free agent market this winter. Period. Not just at shortstop, but period. This season, Bo Bichette hit .311 with an .840 OPS. It's a 129 OPS plus. He only played in 139 games because of injury, but 18 home runs, 94 runs driven in, 78 runs. Good offensive performer. His career numbers in the regular season: 294 batting average, 337 on base, 469 slug. It's a 121 OPS plus for his career. Bo Bichette's numbers are very good. He has that track record where he's been pretty elite at the plate a good portion of his career. The downsides here, there are a couple different downsides. The first one, as good as he's been offensively, he's been just as bad defensively. Fielding run value this season, -10, 4th percentile in all of baseball. He was the worst rated shortstop in the game. His range was a 1st percentile mark of -13, meaning 99% of MLB players had a better range than Bo Bichette. His sprint speed was down to a 21st percentile mark of 26.1 feet per second. His arm strength was down to below average, 36th percentile of 82 miles an hour. He is, by every stretch of the imagination, destined for second base sooner rather than later. He also has had soft tissue injuries in each of the last 2 years. He had a half season last year. He played in 81 games, exactly a half season last year, because of both quad and right knee injuries. I'm sorry, 23 was quad and right knee injuries. Last year was a calf injury. And then this year was a knee sprain that took him out for the final month of the season and everything until the World Series. And teams are a little more wary of soft tissue injuries than they are of broken bones. Because a lot of broken bones can be fluky, right? Hit by a pitch, all that kind of stuff. Like Ozzy. A lot of Ozzy's injuries have been broken bones. But a lot of them have been, he was hit by a pitch in the hand. He fouled a ball off his foot. Like, it's a lot of fluky stuff. He injured his wrist on a defensive play and broke his wrist. Like, it's a lot of fluky things. Bichette, it's been recurring lower body injuries. And we can already see where it's sapped the speed out of his game. Also, his approach is very aggressive. He chases a lot. He doesn't walk a ton. He's not swinging incredibly hard. He is reliant on making very high, like a lot of contact and making high quality contact. Okay? And the issue there is if that contact ability slips, it's Tim Anderson all over again. Tim Anderson went from batting title to out of the league in like 5 or 6 years. Tim Anderson hit .335 in 2019. Won the batting title. Again, .335 average, .865 OPS. The last 2 seasons between Miami and LA, the Angels, not the Dodgers, he combined to hit .211 with a .473 OPS. Because his ability to make contact incredibly dropped off as he reached his 30s, meaning the chase, the low walk totals, all of that stuff caught up to him. So, like, there is an example of the Bichette profile not aging very well. Because, again, he's not giving you defensive value. He's not giving you base running value. I went on longer about this than I intended to, but the point is, it feels like Bichette's not a great idea. Never mind the fact he's going to decline a qualifying offer and need a lengthy and expensive contract. Can you imagine if he turns into Tim Anderson and you have him signed for 7 years? So, like, could you see how it could work? Like, Atlanta signs him to the deal, you reset the CBT, so you pop a qualifying offer on him, you use him at shortstop for a little bit, and then you move him to second base when Ozzy's done. But you could also see how it could go incredibly poorly. So I don't want Bichette. And outside of that, there's not a lot of options. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Miguel Rojas, they're not everyday starters at shortstop. Willie Casher is a utility guy. So I think it means you end up needing to make a trade here. And if you make a trade, there's a couple really interesting options out there, depending on what route you want to take. I think route number 1 is you're acquiring a young player that's going to need to get paid. Option 2, you're taking on a bad contract of an expensive veteran. Acquiring the young player takes more prospect capital, but might take less money. Acquiring the older player takes less prospect capital, but probably costs you more money because the contract's bad for a reason. They're trying to get rid of it. If you look at the young players, MLB Trade Rumors has their trade candidates list. Top 40 trade candidates. They put this out, I think, on Sunday or Monday. Number 23, CJ Abrams of the Nationals. 3 years of arbitration remaining, $5.6 million salary projected for 2026. He's in the same division as Atlanta. We don't know if they'd be willing to move him or not. And he doesn't grade out as a very good defender. But I think there might be a way around the defense part, okay? So in his career, CJ Abrams has committed 74 errors at shortstop. He's at .964 fielding percentage. Of those, 46 of those have been throwing errors. Is the fact that Matt Olson, Gold Glove winner Matt Olson, is at first base, does that help with some of those throwing errors? Washington's never really had great first base play while he's been there. Does that help with some of those? is question number one. Here's the other really weird thing. 15% of all defensive errors that CJ Abrams has committed have come against the Atlanta Braves. He was born in Alpharetta. He went to school in Roswell. Is he just yipped up when he plays the Braves? Like, if you acquire him, does that get worse or does that fix it? I really don't know, but something to think about. Intra-division trade, I don't think it'll happen, but you never know. Luis Angel Acuna with the Mets, Ronald's little brother. He's only played 125 innings in the majors at shortstop. He graded out above average. He has 2,600 minor league innings there. He can also play center field, second base, and third base. Good speed would help your argument to re-sign Ronald to an extension. Doesn't have any options. We'll see if the Mets would be willing to trade him in the division. I'm guessing not. Jordan Lawlar is one that I want to think about. People suggested this to me during the season, and I kept pointing out they want him to be the third baseman of the future. The way he finished the season and what they're doing with him in winter ball makes me feel like they might not have faith in him anymore. His final 74 plate appearances of the season, he hit 182 with a 288 slug, 26 strikeouts in 74 plate appearances. He also had 4 defensive errors in like 76 innings. One of those led to a collision at first base and teammate Tyler Locklear got injured. So Torey Lovullo, the manager, used him solely as a designated hitter or a pinch hitter down the stretch. Didn't let him play the field, didn't use him on an everyday basis. And when he got to winter ball in the Dominican, he's playing more center field than third base. Does Atlanta reach out and say, hey, y'all need a third baseman for next year? You obviously don't believe in Jordan Lawlar anymore. Here's Nacho Alvarez as one piece of the deal to play third base for you. Because Nacho started looking really good. He's raking in the desert in the Arizona Fall League right now. You guys trade away Merrill Kelly. You're probably going to lose Zach Gallen in free agency. Corbin Burns is going to be out from Tommy John. Here's Bryce Elder to go in your rotation. And then here's a pitching prospect, right? Is it Owen Murphy? Do they push back and ask for J.R. Ritchie instead? Do they ask for Caminiti, who's from Arizona, instead? Do you make that deal? Just some interesting kind of things to think about there. The other option when you're taking on a contract, Trevor Story, Corey Seager, we've broke down some of these on the show before, but it just feels like if you don't get Kim back in free agency, you're going to have to make a trade if you want to find an everyday caliber shortstop. Because again, on the free agent market, you can sign Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He's not an everyday starting shortstop. I'd rather have Nick Allen. At least Nick Allen's a Gold Glove caliber defender. IKF's barely average, and neither one of them can hit that well. So if you want more on a lot of these guys, a lot of these situations, this was the Monday newsletter over at BravesToday.com, so go check that out. In just a second, I want to talk about Michael King, because he officially declined his half of the mutual option and is now officially a free agent. I want to talk about why he might be a better fit for Atlanta than your Dylan Cease or your Framber Valdez. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Second segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby, welcome back. I want to kind of break down for you the whole situation with Michael King, right? I've talked about the big four for a while now, right? Michael King, Dylan Cease, Framber Valdez, Zach Gallen as your 4 big free agent pitchers this offseason. And I think it's fairly clear that Framber Valdez is going to get paid, okay? Dylan Cease, despite a little bit of underperformance, he's likely still going to get paid, okay? Strong peripherals, career performance has been really good. Zach Gallen is looking at like a 1 or 2 year pillow deal, probably. ERA was almost 5. His strikeout rate dropped to below MLB average, and he didn't really have an injury. He played all season. He just wasn't good. Why would you, he'll still decline a qualifying offer. Why would you pop a qualifying offer on a 1 or 2 year deal? I think Michael King is probably your best bet for somewhere in the middle. 2024 was fantastic for him. For first year being in the rotation, full-time, 2.95 ERA. This last year, 3.44 ERA, but he pitched less innings and made less starts because he missed time with a nerve impingement in his shoulder and the knee inflammation in the fall. I think there's an argument to make that if he's healthy, which is a big if here, Michael King is the best option for Atlanta to sign. First reason here is the mileage on his arm is different. Okay, so let's go back to last offseason. When Corbin Burnes signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks, he had 930 and 2/3 innings in his career prior to signing. When Max Fried joined the Yankees, left Atlanta and joined the Yankees, he had 960 innings combined, regular season and postseason. Corbin Burnes went down with Tommy John. He had 1,000 career innings on his arm at around the age of 30. Michael King, early in his career, the Yankees used him as a middle reliever and then a swing man. He didn't become a full-time starter until 2024. So he currently, regular season and postseason, has 509 and 2/3 innings, despite being pretty much the same age as Fried and Burnes were when they hit free agency. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that there's a direct correlation between innings pitched and injury. Like, we don't have the study that says, hey, as you get to this point in innings pitched in your major league career, your likelihood of injury goes up. There's no guarantee he stays healthier simply because he has less innings, but I do think it is relevant. When you look at career longevity and all of that, I do think it's relevant that he has less innings on his arm. And I do also think it means that there might be more development there that you don't necessarily have with a 30-year-old veteran who has 1,000 career innings. It's the same concept Atlanta uses in the draft, right? They look at guys who used to be multi-sport athletes, like some guy who just dropped football to focus exclusively on baseball, or guys who were two-way players who are now going to focus exclusively on either pitching or hitting because they have more development remaining in their development curve compared to a peer who has been specialized on one part of the ball or whatever because they have less experience doing it. So same idea here, right? Michael King has less career starts than some of these guys. Can he still get a little bit better? Can he still improve? The concern there is you have to wonder about the workload. He had 173 and 2/3 innings, ERA under 3 in 24, across 30 starts. This most recent year, I think it was like 15 starts, 73 and 1/3 innings because of the injury. Strikeout rate went down about 3%. ERA went up just under, just almost exactly half a run. How many innings can you get from him in 26? Can he repeat the 173? Are you shooting for 150? We saw this with Ronaldo Lopez. You signed him for 24. He pitched 135 innings. He almost doubled what he had done the year before, but then he missed a lot of time down the stretch and essentially all of 25, right? Is Michael King destined for that? We don't really know. But I do think some of that question does lower the price a little bit. Also, his stuff: sinker, four-seamer, changeup, traditional slider, and a sweeper. And he's very similar to Chris Sale from the approach of everything's working horizontally, right? Sweeper obviously is a horizontal pitch. Sinker's doing that same thing the other direction. His changeup follows the movement profile of the sinker, it's just slower. His slider doesn't have a lot of vertical drop to it. It's kind of bridging between the fastballs and the sweeper. And so, it's a really low arm angle, 27 degrees. Can he learn something from Chris Sale? Can being in the same rotation as a lefty sidearmer in Chris Sale, what can he pick up from Chris Sale? Part of the reason why Shamanaya had such a good 24 for the Mets, he talked about studying Chris Sale because they both are lefty sidearmers. King's a righty, obviously, but still the point remains. He's a lot closer to sidearm than a lot of his other peers. What can he learn from Chris Sale? Can he improve a little bit? The slider was significantly different this year. Had about 2 mile an hour coming off of it, had a little more drop than usual. It got better results. He also barely used it. His four-seam fastball was much worse. He went from allowing a 4.7% rate on barrels per plate appearance to 18.9%. I think that's directly attributable to some of his issues. Is that correctable? Can you fix that? A lot of it was locations. A lot of the locations were right down the middle of the plate. He more than doubled the number of barrels he allowed on four-seamers in attack zones 4 through 6, which if you're looking vertically is the middle third of the plate. If you look at the middle third and the bottom third, he more than tripled the number of barrels he allowed in 25 versus 24 in the bottom third and the middle third. He just let too many fastballs drop down into the zone. How much of that was the shoulder issue? How much of that was something different? Can you fix that? Did the shoulder issue cause that? Was he trying to compensate for command troubles and that's what hurt the shoulder? Chicken versus egg, we don't know. But all of these questions mean that you should be able to get a little bit of a discount on Michael King. And there's reasons to believe if you can answer these questions, he can be better than he was in 25. He could be closer to that 2024 breakout version, who again had like a 2.95 ERA in 170-something innings. And a lot of the projections that I've looked at have him in that 3 to 4 year window, right? Baseball America said 4 years, $110 million. Spot Track said 4 years and 92. The Athletic said 3 years and 75. And they all kind of have him $23 to $27 million or so. I feel a lot better about, one, the chances of Alex Anthopoulos giving out a contract of 4 years and $100 million versus a Dylan Cease or a Framber Valdez who are going to want 7 years and $200 million, right? And if you can fix these issues, one, if you're convinced he's healthy, the medicals are super important here. If he's healthy and you're convinced that either he is fixing these issues or you can fix these issues, it feels like there's more value here than there is in hoping that a Dylan Cease lives up to that contract, right? I don't hate popping a qualifying offer if you're going to have a guy for 3 or 4 years. That would give him another chance, another bite at the apple at age 35. If it looks like he is fully healthy and he is back to the guy you want, then as you get towards the end of that deal, you could always re-sign him. But I think Michael King, given some of these questions, makes a ton of sense if that's the qualifying offer guy you want to go get for your rotation. Again, the medicals are super important here. They're going to have to be incredibly thorough on the physical. Maybe more so than they were with Ronaldo Lopez, who was pitching through shoulder pain before he even got to Atlanta. In just a minute, let's talk about the bullpen, because I think there's something we need to go ahead and do. We'll talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. Something I talked about earlier in the year was the relief market being very top-end heavy, right? And that was before Devin Williams was bad. If you look at a lot of the inputs for Devin Williams, he was incredibly unlucky. His actual ERA was a 4.79 this year. His expected ERA was a 3.04. Still not where he was in previous years, right? He had a 1.53 in 2023 with 36 saves. But the point is, his chase rate, his whiff rate, his strikeout rate, all that stuff was up there. His hard hit rate was low. His ground ball rate was good. All of those numbers were traditionally where they've always been. He just lost a little bit of velo and had some bad luck on some stuff. So he's going to be in the relief market. Robert Suarez opted out of the remainder of his deal. Edwin Diaz opted out of the remainder of his deal. It's going to be a very busy free agent market. And what I'm worried about happening is you're going to see, like, there's two things that can happen when you have a very congested free agent market. The first thing is somebody can be left out and have to settle for a smaller deal. I don't think that happens here simply because everybody needs bullpen help. What I think is more likely is that Edwin Diaz signs a stupid huge deal, or Robert Suarez signs a stupid huge deal, and it resets the market for relief pitching, right? You get deals kind of closer to what the Josh Hader deal is doing. And so because of all of that, I think the Braves need to go ahead and re-sign Raisel Iglesias to a multi-year deal during this exclusive negotiating window before free agency opens on Thursday. The only team he can sign with right now is the Atlanta Braves. And I think they need to go ahead and do it. I know his overall numbers last year weren't amazing, but he rallied to a 3.21 ERA. And the reason for that is he put up a 1.76 ERA in the second half of the year. 1.76 ERA. 18 saves, allowed a grand total of 6 runs after the All-Star break. He was very, very good. The slider was the issue. He went from opening the season at 20% slider usage to the final month of the year, 2.5%. He ramped up the four-seam fastball. He started throwing a little bit more changeups. He practically eliminated the slider from his arsenal. And he was much better. Maybe they can fix the slider over the offseason. Who knows? But the point is, Raisel Iglesias was very good. You also know he fits in the clubhouse well. He's been in Atlanta for multiple years. And the smartest thing for the Braves to do would be to go ahead and sign him now to a multi-year deal before every other team can start trying to woo him in free agency. Depending on who you ask, again, some of those same sources, Spot Track has him at a 2-year, $18 million deal, comes out to like $9 million in annual salary. Baseball America is the high man on him, right? I use high man in the colloquial term. They have him at 3 years and $54 million, which is $18 million per, actually at a pay raise, which is a little bit wild to me, but okay. And The Athletic has him at 2 years and $24 million. I feel like jumping in on a 2 or 3 year deal, I don't think you have to go $54 million. But jumping in on a 2 or 3 year deal to bring him back, nobody's going to want a 1 year deal this winter if they can help it because of the looming lockout. Okay, give him 2 for 24. Give him 2 for 30, I think. Get Raisel Iglesias back now. That feels like the best thing to do before you see all of these relievers start signing massive free agent contracts and just really skewing with the entire market. Because again, Edwin Diaz is out there. Devin Williams is out there. Robert Schwartz is out there. Heck, Ryan Helsley is going to be out there. Kenley Jansen's going to be out there. There are a bunch of options. And going ahead and getting your guy now before everybody else starts resetting the market feels like the smartest thing to do. This has been Braves Today for Tuesday, November 4th. Do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, a 5-star review would be fantastic. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that you know when we're going live, when we're dropping news and all of that stuff. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.